Hello, dear students. The topic for today's discussion is important environmental legislations in India. It is being presented by me, Nidhi Mishra, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, Durgapur Government College. First, we have to understand that why, as students of political science, are we reading about environment. You have to understand that earth is truly our paradise, and it is our duty to protect our paradise. The fresh air that we breathe, the water that we consume, the oxygen that we intake, all of it is the product of nature. The constitution of India embodies a certain provisions regarding environmental protection. The incorporation of these provisions reminds us that there is a need for greater environmental awareness, there is a need for greater environmental education and sensitization so that the people preserve their ecology, preserve the environment in which they are living. What the provisions are. To begin with, the preamble to our constitution ensures socialist pattern of the society. Now, what does this mean? It means equal or equitable redistribution of resources rather than monopolizing any of nature's resources or material resources for that sake. It is important to know that a pollution free environment and a decent standard of living is actually the life or is the requirement of an individual. Apart from the preamble, the fundamental duties of the Indian Constitution also remind every Indian citizen about their duty to protect and improve the environment, which includes having compassion for living creatures, conserving the use of water, ensuring that the forest and the green cover remains the same, and we protect our wildlife. Even directive principles of state policy, specifically Article 48A of the Constitution, puts before the state the moral ideal to protect and improve the environment, and encourages the state to take certain steps to protect the forest and the wildlife of the country. In fact, part 3, which deals with fundamental right, also deals with environmental clauses. We can see that from Article 21. If you can recall, 21 refers to fundamental right to life. Can you imagine a life without having access to clean air, or having an environment that is infested with diseases, or there is contaminated water around? So fundamental right to life also includes the right to have clean air, the right to have uncontaminated pure water. So right to healthy environment is also essential if one wants to live with dignity. So apart from that, Article 32 and Article 226 of the Constitution of India, the articles that deal with constitutional remedies, also give an opportunity to the individuals to file public interest litigations in cases where they find that there has been or there is an attempt to damage the environment. So any citizen of India can file a PIL and approach the Supreme Court, which is the apex court of India, or the High Court, and can get their grievance reduced. So these were the constitutional provisions. Now we'll discuss the important environmental legislations. To begin with, firstly we'll talk about the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. It deals with the protection of not only animals and birds but also plants. The act consists of 6 schedules, wherein Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 contains a list of animals and wildlife which require absolute protection. So they have to be protected from any kind of human interference, and the penalties are there to discourage any kind of activity that endangers their life. However, Schedule 5 mentions animal that can be hunted and no penalties will be imposed. Examples being common crow, mice, fruit bat, etc. Schedule 6 also consists of a list of various plant species which are endangered endangered or are threatened from the possibility of extinction. So any kind of cultivation and planting is prohibited for the plants listed under this category. So the Wildlife Protection Act has set up certain bodies, the National Board for Wildlife or the National Tiger Conservation Authority. These two bodies are constituted under this act, and even the national park, sanctuary, conservation reserves all are constituted under this. Two other important acts are the Water Act of 1974 and the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. If you've been following the news, you must have heard the name of Central Pollution Control Board. It has the responsibility to check the air quality index and to suggest the steps required so that we can have access to cleaner air. In fact, water polluted from industrial waste is also a domain which is overlooked by the Central Pollution Control Board. And we have the Air Act of 1981, which also covers noise pollution, and the implementing bodies are CPCB and State Pollution. Apart from that, another very relevant act is the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. If you read carefully, it restricts the use of forest land for non-forest purposes. This basically means that any kind of forest land cannot be destroyed or cleared for non-forest purposes. Now, what does that mean? Cultivation of tea, coffee, spices, rubber, all of these are for commercial purposes. So, if any forest land has been cleared to cultivate these, this act restricts such a development. Only work that is encouraged or can be carried out is only if it is for management of forests. For example, if you've been to a national park or a wildlife sanctuary, you will see there are several checkposts where the movement of animals can be witnessed. There are wireless communication, water holes for the animals to have their water. There are dams, there are bridges. So these construction or development works are not prohibited, but anything that involves commercial cultivation of plant is strictly prohibited by the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. In fact, it also restricts the leasing of forest land to private individuals, authorities, and next is the Environmental Protection Act 1986. This act is extremely important. Do remember the year 1986. It is very relevant. It was enacted in the wake of Bhopal gas tragedy. Now it is an umbrella legislation. What does that mean? Under this act, there have been several rules and regulations that have been designed, and they have been designed to regulate environmental pollution, to check about the condition of industrial waste, where are they disposed, about hazardous waste, and next, equally important and relevant, is the Biological Diversity Act. So, what do you mean by biological diversity? Biological diversity refers to the rich diversity or the presence of different, multiple, unique animal and plant species, and this particular act sets up two particular bodies here: National Biodiversity Authority and State Biodiversity Board, apart from biodiversity management committees which are present at the local level. Now, what do these biodiversity authorities do? The National Biodiversity is an autonomous body which tries to advise the government of India on how to use biological resources, and after the uses, if there are certain benefits, how to equitably share the benefits arising from the use of these resources. In this reference, in the context of the National Biodiversity Authority, I would request all the students who are watching to try to see and do a quick Google search on BT Brinjal case. You will understand what exactly is the work of National Biodiversity Authority. Next, we'll talk about National Green Tribunal. This is an excellent platform for environmentalism, for environmental activism. You, me, and all of us, the citizens of India, can approach this tribunal if we are seeing that there has been activities around us which are threatening the environment. So, what do these tribunals do? They are like courts. In a way, they listen to cases and dispose of cases relating to what? Exclusively those that are related to environment. So this tribunal is performing the function of effective disposal of cases. Now, NGT is mandated to make the disposal, means they have to arrive at a decision within 6 months of filing of the same. Now, it is a very interesting thing that India is the third country in the world to set up such an exclusive tribunal meant for the environment, the first being Australia and the second being New Zealand. Think before giving them the green signal. So EIA tries to see that no project which damages the environment is given a green signal. These are the following activities which require prior environmental clearance. For example, mining of minerals, building and construction projects, township and area development projects, thermal power plants, and now, these are also some of the rules which are included under the Environment Protection Act. If you remember in the previous slides, I had mentioned that it is an umbrella legislation. So, all these rules are included within the Environment Protection Act. For example, manufacture, storage, and import of hazardous chemicals. So, any industry that is dealing with hazardous chemical has to get a prior permit from the respective pollution control boards before disposing or storing or importing them. So, this deals with plastic waste, biomedical waste, e-waste, and etc. Now, certain important environmental organizations which are relevant from the examination point of view. First is the Animal Welfare Board of India. What does it do? It advises the government on how how laws can be framed for promoting animal. Second is the Forest Survey of India. What does it do? It tries to collate data. It plans about how to manage and preserve social forestry. Secondly, you have the Central Zoo Authority of India. It fulfills the larger objective of conservation of. Then we have the National Tiger Conservation Authority. It is important to mention here that Project Tiger was rolled out in the year 1973 under the Prime Ministership of Indira Gandhi, and from then, it is the task of the National Tiger Conservation Authority, which was established in 2005 to monitor how this project is going about and the tiger reserves, how they are being managed. Last two organizations which are equally important are the Zoological Survey of India. What it does is that it arrives at a scientific survey and classification of fauna. Fauna refers to wildlife and wild animal species, and its counterpart, the Botanical Survey of India, does the same. It is also a research organization which carries out taxonomic, that is, scientific classification about the flora, that is the plant species. So this is it for today. I hope that yeah, it has been easier for you to understand the topic. In case of any doubt, please drop in your comment and let us know. Stay safe.